Hello, Jenny Hall here for Ink on 3. Today I have a set of note cards to share with you that are created with the Oh Dear stamps and dies. This is a beautifully drawn stamp set from Ink on 3, and I'm going to pair it with some Atelier inks as well. I'm using Paint It Black Atelier ink, and I am stamping this image, and I'm going to stamp it again while it's still in the MISTI and just concentrate on the floral portion. That's the only part that I really need to be inked nicely. I wanted to share today one really easy way to color this image. There are many different ways in coloring, and everyone has their favorite method, but sometimes it can be a little intimidating, and many people will contact me and tell me that they're afraid to watercolor or they're afraid to add color in certain ways. So this, my friends, is dedicated to you who are looking for more than one way to color a beautiful detailed image. I'm using some of the Atelier inks that are from Ink on 3 with an ink blending brush, and I'm adding the color to this image. I'm not worried about that floral area because we're going to go in and color that, and then we're going to cover that up. But I am worried about all the other areas that are going to show. So the antlers I'm making much darker than the rest of the area because I want them to really stand up and stand out. And then I'm adding more dark ink to the outside edge of the deer than to the middle area of the deer. And that was Twiggy Brown ink from Ink on 3. Now I'm switching over to Paint It Black, and this is the same ink that I stamped the image, and I'm just going around those outside edges to make sure that I've got a nice dark contour, and then I'm going to bring it up around all the areas. Now this ink blending brush is from Trinity Stamps, and it has a point. It has a really nice area at the top where I can get just a very small area ink blended. But if you don't have a contoured blending brush, try a Q-tip and see if you can get the areas with a Q-tip, and that might help you. So again, we're still not watercoloring. We're just adding some ink with an ink blending brush. This ink is reactive, and so whenever we add some spritzes of water, then the colors are going to react in lots of different ways and give us some nice reactions. Here is Sweet Petunia Pink, and now we are focused only on coloring that little floral image between the two horns or antlers. And I'm going to use a rainbow of colors. First was Sweet Petunia Pink, and the next one is Bee Sting Yellow. I'm going to overlap those colors so that the pink and the yellow will create a very beautiful orange blend. Now I'm going to add Goddess Green and then move on to Trinity Teal. I'm using an ink blending brush for each individual color, as I have my brushes set up to where I don't use a brown brush on a purple stamp pad because it's going to contaminate. So this is going to be a different brush for each stamp pad. And sometimes there's ink already on the brush. So as long as you don't want too concentrated of a color, then it's okay to apply a light pressure. So I'm going to use the coordinating die for the deer, and then I'm going to fussy cut just that floral area. That floral area will include the flowers and the leaves and any type of little flower buds, but I don't need to get any part of the deer cut off with it because that's already covered with brown ink. Now I'm going to add some little highlights with a white and a gold gel pen. And I really like how the gel pen is going to show up against that nice dark rich brown. And I'm going to carry those highlights through onto the floral pieces, and that's going to give me just a little hint of sparkle. This deer can be featured in so many different ways, And I just really love the idea of adding rainbow color to the florals. I'm going to use some of the other images in the stamp set, and they are some really cute birds, and I have stamped them with juicy embossing ink sprinkled on gold embossing powder and heat set before cropping them with the coordinating dies. Now we're going to create a fun background. Since we were working with such a fun image, I thought it would be great to share a technique for creating backgrounds. This is the Leafy Forest stencil that is available in the Ink on 3 shop, and using some more of that juicy embossing ink to go right through the stencil onto the paper. That's going to give me an area that will cling to some clear embossing powder that's also available in the Ink on 3 store. And once sprinkled, I will heat set that, and then it's going to be a perfect surface for some emboss resisting. Now, once you add ink over this area, then the places that are already adhered with the clear embossing powder are not going to take to the color. So the color is only going to stick to the paper, not the embossed area. I'm going to use some bright and cheerful colors, and this is the bee sting yellow, then I'll add goddess green, and then go back in with Trinity teal. Once these colors are together on the paper, they blend together nicely. I chose these 3 colors because when they overlap in the blend, they go together beautifully. The blue and the green work together to create this beautiful aqua turquoisey color that is just gorgeous, and the yellow and green are so bright and happy. Once I have added all of the color down to this piece of paper, then I'm going to crop it with a rectangle die, and that's going to make the panel smaller. That way I can feature the white area of a card base around the outside edge. As I mentioned, this is one of 3 cards that are in a note card set. I'll show you some pictures of the other 2 cards at the end of this video, so stay tuned. Once all the color is applied, I use just a dry cloth and rub over the embossed area, and any residual ink just slides right off. I'm going to use some double-sided foam tape to prop up that area, and that's our beautiful background. So now our deer shows up really nicely, but it's a little bit too tall or too long in the neck for the area that I created with the background. So I'm going to trim her down, or him, not really sure which one it is, and I will have that flush at the bottom. Now here is some liquid pixie dust, and that is just so beautiful and shiny, and I'm going to flick it around, try to avoid the deer and just get the antlers and the background as well as those flowers. Now I'm going to place those gold embossed birds around the design, and that's it. She is so beautiful. Now the colors are much more rich in this lighting than they are, but here's another version taken in some better light, and you can see all the detail that the ink blending brought out. Here's another version that has also been done the same way, but not as dark. And here is a watercolored version where there's nothing cut away, nothing layered, it's just all watercolor. I'd love to hear which version you like in the comments below.